Say a word out loud with me right now. Frugal. Did you feel that? That little flinch. For most of us, frugal doesn't sound like a smart choice. It sounds like a punishment, like you failed that money, and now you have to pay for it by living small, eating sad food, and never enjoying anything again. I believed that for years. I thought being frugal meant being poor on purpose. Then I started over at 50 years old with a lot less money than I pictured. And I had to figure out how to actually live on less, not a cute weekend challenge, for real. And here's what I found out. The problem was never frugal living. It was that everyone taught it to me like a sentence I had to serve instead of a choice that I got to make. So today, 7 frugal habits that do not feel like punishment. Not one of them is about suffering. Every single one is about putting your money where you actually want it to go. So stay to the end because the seventh one is the one that changed a lot for me and it does not cost a single dime. Let me tell you what frugal usually gets sold as so we can throw it out together. You've seen the advice. Clip every coupon, although I don't think there's anything wrong with clipping coupon. Reuse your tea bags. Never buy a coffee out again. Stack your beans and rice and call it a meal plan. Cut anything that brings you joy and feel guilty as you slip. That advice has a feeling underneath it, and it's shame. It assumes that you're spending because you're weak, and the only cure is to take everything away from yourself until you've learned your lesson. And here's what people assume when I talk like this they assume I grew up poor. I did not. There was money in my house. What there wasn't any freedom around it. I grew up watching my mother stretch every single dollar, not because we didn't have it, but because my father controlled it. He spent on himself freely, lavishly, whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And everybody else in the house, they lived inside a limit that he set. That's the thing nobody tells you about a poverty mindset. You do not have to be poor to get one. You just have to grow somewhere money came with a lot of control attached to it, where it was never really yours to decide. And I found out exactly where I stood the day that I got my first job. And my father called a meeting, him and my mother sitting me down at the table to inform me that every single month I was to hand my father my paycheck. I said, no. I think I was the first person in that house that ever said it out loud to him. And I'm pretty sure that's the day that I became the black sheep of the family. And I have carried that name ever since. And I'll tell you the truth, it was worth every bit of it because that no was the first time the money that I earned was actually mine to decide what to do with. Now, let me tell you about a moment I don't love admitting. Last year, I'm at the grocery store, a little basket, and at the register, the total comes up higher than I expected. And I feel my face get very hot. So I do the thing, I tell the cashier, oh, let me put this back. And then I hand her the one thing in the basket I actually wanted for myself, a nice cheese, $8. And I smile while I did it like it was nothing. Then I sat in my car in the parking lot because it was never about $8. It was the feeling, 50 years old, putting back a piece of cheese, feeling like I had failed at something, like everybody in that line behind me could see it. And here's what I want you to hear. Nobody behind me cared. Nobody was thinking about me at all. The shame wasn't coming from them. It was coming from somewhere a lot older, from growing up where money always had somebody else's hands on it. And wanting a little for myself, it felt like something that I had to apologize for. That is the difference that nobody teaches you. Frugal done from shame feels like poverty. Frugal done from choice, it feels like power. The exact same actions, a completely different experience of your own life. So, why does almost everybody quit? Why do we start a budget on Monday, all fired up, and then we quit by Thursday feeling like a failure all over again? Because most frugal advice is built backwards. It starts with everything you give up, cut this, cancel that, stop the one thing you look forward to. 3 days in, your whole life feels gray and your brain rebels. You're not weak for that. You're human. Nobody runs on deprivation for a long time. It loses to a Friday night. It also loses to a hard week, to the moment you're tired and just want one nice thing. And then you spend. Then you feel terrible. Then you decide, well, I guess I'm just bad with money. You are not bad with money. You were handed a system designed to make you fail and then designed to make you feel ashamed about failing. I am done with that. So let's flip the whole thing together. Here's the reframe, and I want you to hear this one all the way down. Frugal living is not about how little you can survive on. It's about deciding on purpose where your money gets to go. That's it. Not a punishment, but direction. When you spend less on what you don't care about so you can keep what you love, that is not being poor. That is being the boss of your own life. There is nothing wrong with you. You do not need to be punished. You just need a version of this built for a real human being, one who still wants to enjoy being alive. So, if that just took a weight off your chest, that is exactly what I do on this channel, starting over with less without the shame. So, I want you to hit subscribe so you don't lose me, and let's get into the 7. So, habit number 1. Start from your yes list, not your no list. Every budget you have ever tried started with a no list. All the things that you cannot have, we're not doing that today. I want you to grab a piece of paper and write down the 3 things that genuinely make your life feel good. Not what you think should be there, but what's true for you. Your Friday takeout, the show that you watch every night, fresh flowers, good coffee, a class that you love, a cooking class that you love, recipes that you want to try every week. Those 3 are protected. We are not touching them. That's your yes list. And here's why it works. When you know exactly what you're keeping, cutting everything else stops feeling like loss. It feels like clearing space for what truly matters. You're not giving things up. You're getting rid of the stuff that was quietly stealing from the things that you love. And this is not a budget with categories. It's the opposite of a rules list. It's the one move that makes every other habit on this list feels like a choice instead of a punishment. All right, so habit number 2, put a pause between you and the want, not a ban, a pause. The rule, when you want something that is not a need, you don't say no. You say, not right now. And you wait 24 hours. I go 48 hours. You put it on the cart and you walk away. You write it down and you sleep on it one day or 48 hours. Here's what you'll notice about 7 times out of 10. The wanting fades. It was never about the thing. It was a feeling. Maybe you were bored. Maybe you were hungry or tired and your brain reached for the fastest little hit that it could find. So the other 3 times you still want it the next day, and now you buy it on purpose with 0 guilt because it passed the test. A real yes, and it's not an impulse buy. Nothing is ever off limits. You're just not letting your tired end of day brain make the call. You're letting the rested version of you decide. She's smarter, so let her drive. Habit number 3, cut the food you actually crave. Just make it at home. Most frugal advice says eat plain beans and rice, the same sad lunch until you crack, order delivery, and hate yourself for it. Forget that. The goal is not boring food. The goal is keeping the money. So let's do the math out loud because this is where it gets real. When you order delivery, you pay for the food. then the delivery fee, then the service fee, then the tip. Then the little markup the app quietly adds to every item, and $12 meal becomes $28 by the time it reaches your door. Do that 4 times a week, and that's over $400 a month on food that you could have made. I'm not telling you to never order. It might be on your yes list, and that's allowed. I'm telling you to know the number, because when you crave that takeout pasta, you can learn to make this exact pasta at home for about $4, and it tastes better, and you keep the other $24. That is not deprivation. That is $24 raised every single time you cook the thing that you were about to order anyway. So, habit number 4, spend good money on the 3 or 4 things you touch every single day and go cheap on everything else. Sounds backward for a frugal video, but stay with me. This is rich person thinking on a real budget. There's a number that matters way more than the price tag: cost per use. The price of thing divided by how many times you actually use it. A $40 pair of shoes that you wear one time is $40 a wear. A $120 pair that you wear 5 days a week for 2 years is about 23 cents a wear. The expensive shoes were actually the cheaper shoes by a mile. So find the 3 or 4 things that you touch every day: your bed, your pillow, your work shoes, the chair that you sit on for hours, your morning coffee. Buy those well once, and they take care of you for years. I have a pair of winter boots to prove for that. I think I bought it for $250 and I still have it. Oh, by the way, I still have it, and it's been probably 10 years. And everything you barely use, go cheap or just skip it. You're surrounding your daily life with things that feel good and refusing to waste $1 on stuff that just sits on a shelf. All right, habit number 5, cancel the guilt subscriptions and keep the joy ones. So I want you to pull up your bank statement. Look at everything that charges you automatically every month: apps, streaming, membership courses that you belong to if you are an online business owner, the free trials that you forgot 2 years ago. Do not sort them by price, sort them by feeling. That's the whole trick. For each one, ask one question: when this charges me, do I feel a little spark or glad or a little pinch or guilt? The guilt ones are the gym you haven't walked into in a year, the app that you open twice, the course that you're paying for, $300 a month, sometimes $97 a month, $47 a month, and you haven't listened to a single replay, haven't attended a single of their hot seats or live classes. Those go today. They're not saving you a thing. They're just draining you and making you feel bad while they do. The joy ones, the streaming that you actually watch, those you keep with a totally clear conscience. You looked at it, it earns its place, it stays. Habit number 6, and this one is my favorite: build yourself a broke out fancy ritual. Here's the trap with cutting back. If your whole life becomes one long no, you start to feel small, and then a small feeling leads straight into a big blow it all out spending night because you're starving for something nice, and then you finally snap. So you get ahead of it. You build in one small luxury that costs almost nothing but feels like a lot. For me, it's cappuccino. So on Sunday, I get ready, I go to a nice cafe with my partner, and then I buy myself a nice cup of cappuccino. That's it. And I feel that I have absolutely everything. Total cost, $5. Maybe yours is a bath with the good candle lit, a long walk with a playlist that you love, one square of dark chocolate after dinner that you actually slow down and taste and enjoy. When you give yourself something that feels rich on purpose, you stop feeling deprived. and then you stop the panic spending. A $2 ritual, a $5 ritual saves you from a $200 breakdown. Fancy is a feeling, and you can absolutely afford the feeling. Habit number 7, the one that costs nothing and the one that changed a whole lot for me. Stop telling everyone that you're broke. I don't mean lie. I mean, listen to the actual words you use about your own money habit or your own money situation all day long. I can't afford it. I'm so broke. I'm terrible with money. We say these 100 times a week without even thinking. And every single time we tell our own brain the same little story. Money is something that happens to me. I'm a victim of it. I have no say. So I changed my words not to fake it, to tell the truth in a different way. Instead of, I cannot afford that, I started saying, that is not where I'm putting my money right now. Say those out loud and feel the difference in your body. One makes you feel small, the other one, you are the one deciding. So instead of, I'm so broke, I say, I'm being intentional right now. Instead of, I'm bad with money, I say, I'm learning to run my money on purpose. It sounds very small. I promise you it's not small. The woman who says, I can't afford it spends from shame and panic. The woman who says, that's not where my money's going, spends from choice. Same bank account, two completely different lives. I stopped budgeting like I was poor, and I started spending like I was in charge. And here's the wild part, nothing about my income changed the day that I did it. Only the story that I tell myself changed. And the story was the whole thing the entire time. So let's bring it home. 7 habits. And notice not one of them was suffer more. Not one was eat sad food and feel guilty about it. Every single one was about choice, where your money goes, what you protect, what you stop letting drain you. You do not have to do all 7 this week, but pick one, the one that made you nod, start right there. And here's the truth I want you to walk away with. Living on less is not the same as living small. You can be careful with money and still feel rich in your actual life. Those two were never opposites. Somebody told you that they were, and they were wrong. You are not behind. You are not bad at this. You are just getting your hands back on the wheel. And honestly, it looks good on you. If this helped, subscribe, because next I am going to show you the exact system that I use to make all this automatic, starting with just $20. The cash envelope method, the version that actually works for real life, it's coming up next. And with that, I will see you on the next one.